For more on this story, we can bring in our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons. Rob, has there been any major breakthrough from this virtual summit?
No, but it wasn't expected that there would be a major breakthrough. I don't think that was really the purpose of it. You know, there used to be a time when there was talk of convergence between China and the United States, but over the last couple of decades or so, that's been thrown out the window. You know, and in the last year or so, and before that with Donald Trump, things got pretty hot, to the point where the relationship over the last few months has been described by many people as dysfunctional, as toxic, as verging on aggression. That, I think, is what this meeting was about, trying to put a stop to that, getting things back on rails, making sure that the relationship was predictable, not aggressive, was respectful. We heard Xi Jinping talking there about how he wants the relationship to develop. He compared the United States and China to two giant ships on the ocean who had sort of got out of their proper course and were verging towards each other. The time had come, he said, to make sure that they were both going on their own tracks and not likely to bang into each other. He referred to Biden as his old friend. This is an attempt, by both men to say, look, this hostility has gone far enough. It is potentially dangerous. We heard Joe Biden saying just now that. It was interesting what Antony Blinken said just before the summit, and he was at it as well. He said the relationship should be competitive where it should be, collaborative where it can be, adversarial where it must be. And I think that just about sums it up. A realistic assessment, but getting away from the toxicity that we've seen over the last few months.
But one of the things that two sides don't see eye to eye on is Taiwan.
Yeah, absolutely. And, they continue not to see eye on Taiwan as well. But I think what they're both looking for is predictability in that relationship. The United States under Joe Biden at this virtual summit was saying, look, just stop the constant aggression, the military exercises with military planes going into Taiwan's defense zone. It makes the relationship very edgy. There's always a danger when you do that an accident could happen. Joe Biden was referring to misunderstandings just now. A misunderstanding can lead to armed conflict. That's what the Americans want to avoid at this stage. They would like the Chinese to back off on the South China Sea as well. Probably not going to happen. But from the Chinese perspective, on Taiwan, they're looking for predictability from the United States as well. The Chinese are clear on what their position on Taiwan is. As far as they're concerned, Taiwan is an inalienable part of the People's Republic of China. End of story. One day they say it will be back in the PRC. The US position is slightly ambiguous, and deliberately so. They recognize only Beijing as China, but under the Taiwan Act, they have relations with Taiwan and provide it and look to help it with its defense. What the Chinese are a bit alarmed by at the moment is Joe Biden saying not very long ago that if there were an attack from China, the United States would definitely come to Taiwan's assistance. That's a shift away from the ambiguity in the past. And I think what the Chinese were looking for at this summit was the Americans say, look, are we still with the old policy, or is this something new?
And also, what else did the two presidents discuss? Because I imagine Hong Kong also creeped in there.
Yeah. There were a lot of issues. First of all, I just mentioned the South China Sea, the militarization of the South China Sea, the Chinese building bases, creating naval bases effectively for artificial islands in the South China Sea, trying to prevent the United States and others, including France and Great Britain, from moving through the South China Sea, its naval forces, the expansion of China's defense forces at an alarming rate from the perspective of the United States, trying out new weapons, the hypersonic missile, which has really got the Americans wondering what's happening and just how advanced the Chinese military is becoming. Cyber attacks, not just on businesses in the United States, but on institutions, U.S. institutions as well. The U.S. very concerned about that. Trade, a really big issue. It became a top issue under Donald Trump, still a big issue. There was a trade deal just at the end of Donald Trump's tenure when the Chinese agreed to step up their imports of US goods by 200 billion. They're 40% short of achieving that goal by the end of this year. So Joe Biden was saying, come on, what's going on here? And you mentioned human rights. What's happening with the Uyghurs? What happened in Hong Kong is just not acceptable from the US perspective that should happen. Tibet, there's a long list of things that Joe Biden will have wanted to talk about. They did manage to touch on most things. Will anything change immediately? Of course not.
Probably not. Thank you very much for that, Rob. Rob Parsons there.